Welcome to Racing X. Today we're counting down our picks for the best drifting games that you should check out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Live for Speed. Now, this is one of those sims that people love to call obsolete, mostly because it's been around forever and doesn't get talked about anymore. But here's the thing, it's still alive, still updated, and still great for drifting, assuming you're okay with the outdated graphics, of course. And surprisingly, for a game this old, it actually supports VR. Yeah, this old school sim can actually put you inside the cockpit, making drifting way more immersive than you'd expect. So yeah, don't write it off just because it looks ancient, this one still has some life in it. Initial Unity. Okay, this one is a free, fan-made drifting game built specifically to fulfill the fantasy of Initial D fans. You've got mountain passes, classic cars, and that whole downhill battle vibe straight out of the anime. And yes, it's clearly made with passion, but let's be honest, it's extremely niche. So niche, in fact, that you'll have to grab it from some Discord servers, which already tells you what kind of project this is. But still, if you like the concept but want something newer, you can check out its continuation, which is Initial Unity Reborn, made by another dev. Forza Horizon 6. Alright, this one is set in Japan, and honestly, that alone tells you drifting is going to be a huge part of the experience. I mean, it's Forza Horizon. Drifting was already a big deal in the previous games, so there's no way this one doesn't go all in. I mean, mountain passes, neon-lit highways, tight city streets, it practically writes itself. And since it carries the Forza name, expectations are obviously massive. We're all expecting a huge, polished open world packed with cars, events, and solid online play. So, yeah, let's wait and see how it turns out. CarX Drift Racing Online 2. The first game was surprisingly successful for a drifting-focused game, and that alone is already an achievement. Drifting titles are usually pretty niche, but this one managed to build a huge player base and stay relevant for years. And now, this one will be launched this year in early access, with console versions planned for later. And naturally, expectations are pretty high since the first game set a strong foundation. So yeah, the big question is whether the sequel can match or even surpass that success. But for now, all we can do is wait and see how it turns out. Initial Drift Online. Okay, this is one of those games that sits right in the middle. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. The reviews are mixed, but if you're into this specific kind of drifting experience, you'll probably stick with it and become oddly loyal to it. However, the dev has a bit of a reputation for jumping between drifting projects without fully committing to long-term support. That said, the game is very cheap, and there's still a regular player base keeping it alive. So yeah, give it a try first and see if it's your kind of thing. Torque Drift 2. Now, this one is a big visual upgrade over the first game. The cars look sharper, the environments are more detailed, and the drifting itself is still great, just like you'd expect. But here's the problem. It hasn't been received that well so far. A lot of players complain about optimization issues, and because of that, many are still sticking with the first game. It's one of those cases where the foundation is strong, but the performance holds it back. So, yeah, if the devs fix the technical problems, this could easily turn into something amazing. CarX Street. This game is quite different from the usual CarX Drift Racing online formula. Instead of being purely focused on drifting, this one feels more like a Forza Horizon style open world racer. You've got a big map to explore, street races, car upgrades, and a more casual progression system. But don't worry, drifting is still very much part of the experience. You can tune your car into a proper drift build and slide through corners all over the city. Overall, it's a pretty fun game, especially if you're not obsessed with hardcore realism and just want a relaxed, open-world drifting vibe. DRIFTCE. Okay, this game feels quite different from most drifting games. I mean, you're not just picking parts from a menu, you're actually building and tuning your own car, adjusting the engine, suspension, and setup to get the perfect slide. But, of course, what usually happens is you finish your build, take it to the track, and realize it drives like garbage. So, you head straight back to the garage to fix it. And honestly, that's where half the fun comes from. So if you enjoy tinkering, experimenting, and constantly tweaking your drift setup, this one is right up your alley. Torque Drift. Alright, this game is still the preferred choice for many, even after the sequel showed up. The main reason is simple: it's more optimized, runs smoother, and best of all, it's free to play. You can just download it and start drifting without worrying about your PC struggling or your wallet taking a hit. That said, don't come in expecting ultra-realistic physics. This isn't Assetto Corsa, and it's not trying to be. The handling is more arcade-leaning with focus on style and accessibility. But honestly, you've got nothing to lose here. It's free, it's smooth, and it's worth a try. Drift Legends 2. This game often gets underestimated, mostly because of its mobile DNA. I mean, it started as a mobile game that later made its way to PC and consoles. But if you actually look at it, the graphics are surprisingly nice, and the drifting gameplay isn't bad at all. It's simple, accessible, and easy to pick up, which is exactly what it's going for. Plus, it's free to play, so you're not risking anything by trying it out. Just keep your expectations realistic, and you might find yourself enjoying it more than you thought. The Crew 2. Okay, this game does feature dedicated drift events, so if you enjoy sliding around, there's definitely content here for you. That said, the drifting doesn't feel quite as satisfying as it does in Motorfest, where the physics feel a bit more refined. But still, when it comes to arcade racing games, vehicle handling is mostly a matter of taste. Some players love it, some don't. It really depends on what clicks with you. So yeah, if you've already spent time in this one and enjoyed the driving, you might as well dive into those drift events and complete them all. Touge Shakai. Now this one is a cheap little game that can surprisingly scratch your Touge drifting fantasy. It's not a full-on sim, but it's not pure arcade either. It's a simcade. That balance makes it approachable, but it also comes with a catch. The counter-steering behavior can feel annoying, especially if you're already used to proper sim drifting. Still, each car has its own driving style, which keeps things interesting as you switch between them. And here's a unique touch. There's even an FPV drone cam view. Overall, it's a small, quirky game, but for the price, it can be pretty satisfying. JDM Japanese Drift Master. Alright, this one isn't your typical drifting game, it's more of an open-world drifting simulator wrapped in a story. Think Need for Speed, but instead of street racing, it's laser-focused on drifting culture. So yeah, you'll cruise the streets and pretend that you're the main character in a drifting manga. And what makes it extra interesting is the driving model. You can actually choose whether you want a pure arcade experience or lean towards simcade handling. Simply put, it's arcade in its design, but with enough simcade flavor sprinkled in to keep it engaging. Overall, this one's a no-brainer.
Great steering.
Need for Speed Heat. Okay, this game includes a bunch of drift side missions you can take on across the map. So if you enjoy going sideways, there's plenty to do. However, every game in this series has its own physics model, and that includes how drifting feels. That's exactly why even hardcore Need for Speed fans can't agree on which game has the best handling. Some love Heat, some prefer older titles, but in the end, it really boils down to personal preference. So if the drifting here clicks with you, there's a lot of fun waiting. The Crew Motorfest. Just like the previous game, this one also features dedicated drift playlists where you can jump into all kinds of drift events. Some are full-on races packed with long sweeping drifts, while others are the classic point-based drift challenges. But remember, this is an arcade racer first and foremost, so don't come in expecting realistic drifting physics. That's not what it's trying to do. Instead, it delivers a very casual, easygoing experience with great visuals and simple gameplay, which makes it perfect for those of you who can't afford the cars in real life. Need for Speed Unbound. Like the typical Need for Speed game, this one has drifting that feels a bit unique to itself. So yeah, a lot of players jumped in, struggled with it for a few hours, and immediately declared that the drifting sucks. But honestly, it doesn't suck, it's just different. I mean, the handling takes some time to get used to, and you actually need to learn the rhythm of it instead of expecting it to feel exactly like the older games. Once it clicks though, it can be really satisfying, so if it feels off at first, don't panic, just give it some time. Need for Speed Carbon. Now, this was the game when it came to canyon drifting back in the day, and believe it or not, there's still a small but dedicated community playing this game today purely for the drifting. Some of them are even recreating scenes straight out of Initial D, which tells you how iconic those canyon runs really are. The physics might feel dated now, but it's still fun, and the vibe is still unmatched. And of course, when people talk about drifting in Need for Speed, Carbon is always one of the first names that comes up. Drift 86. Okay, this game is perfect for those chill, casual sessions with your friends, assuming you actually have any, of course. Anyway, the whole game is designed to feel relaxed and easygoing, but it still throws in just enough challenge to keep things interesting. So in this game, you can just hop in, slide around some corners, and laugh at each other's mistakes without taking it too seriously. Oh, and to top it all off, the game is packed with cool Eurobeat tracks, which instantly makes every drift feel faster, louder, and way more fun. Need for Speed Underground 2. Alright, this was the shit when it came to drifting back in the day. It wasn't just about straight line speed anymore. I mean, you had dedicated drift events, stylish builds, and that whole street racing vibe that people couldn't get enough of. And on top of that, this is still one of the most famous and highly praised Need for Speed titles of all time. The open world, the customization, the soundtrack, it all just clicked. So yeah, drift or no drift, if you call yourself a racing game fan, this is one of those classics you simply have to play. CarX Drift Racing Online. Now this is one of the most famous, if not the most famous, proper drifting games out there right now. It's basically the go-to title when you just want to tune your car, jump into a server, and start doing tandem drifts with your friends. The physics are built around drifting, the car setups are deep enough to keep you busy, and the whole experience is just pure sideways fun. And on top of that, it supports mods, which makes it even better for the community that lives and breathes this stuff. And for the price, it's honestly a steal. Assetto Corsa. Okay, this is the game that almost always comes up when someone asks for the best drifting experience. Like, the whole community agrees that this game must be in every best drifting games list, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that. At its core, it's a serious racing sim, but the real magic comes from the massive modding scene. You can download cars, tracks, and tools that transform the game into a full-blown drifting playground. And with VR, it becomes ridiculously immersive. So, if you want the most realistic drifting experience, then this one is basically a must-have. BeamNG.drive. This one is basically a vehicle physics simulator, not a proper racing game, and definitely not a traditional drifting title. But because the physics are so detailed, drifting becomes not only possible, but actually pretty fun, especially if you install tons of mods. But of course, you'll need the right car or a proper tune, otherwise the thing will just spin out and embarrass you. And thanks to the renowned soft body physics, every slide, crash, and correction feels completely different from other car games. So yeah, it's not built for drifting, but when it works, it's really satisfying. Gran Turismo 7. Now, this game isn't usually the first game people jump into when they want to drift. Most players treat it as a driving simulator focused on grip racing. But since the physics are quite realistic, drifting is absolutely possible here too. However, there's a catch. Drifting with a steering wheel is way harder than doing it with a controller. The inputs are less forgiving and mistakes show up instantly. But still, once you get the hang of it, drifting with a wheel feels far more satisfying. It's tougher, yes, but the reward is worth it. Inertial Drift. This indie game might look like just another modern retro arcade racer with drifting mechanics, but it's actually a drifting game that just happens to include racing. The big star here, however, is the twin-stick drift system, where one stick handles steering and the other controls your drift angle. Yeah, it sounds weird at first, but it works flawlessly once it clicks. Newcomers can pick it up instantly, while hardcore players can push the system to its limits. And the story mode is fine, I guess. But let's be honest, you're not here for the story, you're here to drift. Forza Horizon 5. This is probably the most popular modern arcade racing game right now, and yeah, it's also a great place to pull off some fun, stupid drifts in cars you definitely can't afford with your low-paying job. And the game also includes proper drift events, so you've got structured challenges if that's your thing. But honestly, the real fun comes from just going sideways anywhere you want in the open world. Empty highway, drift. Dirt road, drift. Tight mountain pass, definitely drift. And if you already own this game, well, going through the drift events is the obvious next step. So do you agree with our picks? Check out these other videos from us and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.